I offered a 2-hour session, one of my equine facilitated learning sessions, creativity, compassion, and presence, for the staff to experience what my sessions are about. I feel it was important for people to have to have their own experience, so that when they're speaking with their clients or they're speaking with people that perhaps would be interested, they would have their own experience to come from. So what happened when I got there was, we're in the middle of a very big heat wave in Colorado. It was close to 100 degrees, even though they were at a higher elevation than the desert. Hot and dry and windy. The staff, some of the staff, there were 9 staff that had committed to attending on top of, at the end of their very busy day. Some of the staff, I learned, had actually worked 7 days in a row. And for anyone that knows about working with horses, it's a 24/7 deal, to care for them, feed them, and then the programming on top of it. So these staff, the people who attended, were hot, they were tired, they were distracted. And what I did was I just kind of noticed when I showed up that, okay, this is going to be interesting, because they were all over the place. We had chairs in a circle, and when their director said, okay, everybody, it's time to come, I mean, they all came. I mean, they all came, took a seat. But boy, did I notice the fatigue. Well, first of all, I acknowledged what was going on in the room, because that's part of what I feel I bring to my work, is just a real acknowledgement of the here and now. I acknowledge that I get it, that you guys have worked hard. I really appreciate you taking this time out to experience this. So what I let them know is, this is going to be a sampler session. This is going to be a demo session. Even though we had booked 2.5 hours, I said, you know what, we're going to make sure that this is reasonable, so that you're going to have an opportunity to experience this. And, so I started with my sensory awareness. I do a body scan. I do some breath and body work just to help them get back into their bodies. And even just that, I noticed that that they were really starting to settle down into their chairs, even though, they had no idea what we were going to do. And these are people that provide equine assisted therapies and activities. But my work is such an eclectic blend of a lot of things that another reason why I felt it was important for them to do it. So we did the breath and body, we did the reconnection with self, we did the grounding. And then I started a very brief introduction to the mandala, and the mandala being a circle, and how it's really a symbol of wholeness, and that it's important for us as human beings to find our center and to come back to ourselves, so that we can be out in the world. And so did a little intro on that, and then talked about the being in the presence of horses. Now, these are folks that know about being with horses. So I said, so what do you, knowing what you know, and from your experience, what does being in the presence of horses bring to a session like this? And they, several of them spoke right up. Well, I know when I'm working with the horses, I feel much better. I feel so much more grounded. Help bring regularity to my life. And I'm like, beautiful. I mean, so that's another thing that I do, is I really ask them, what do they already know? To help anchor them and their knowledge. They already have a lot, so why not bring it out? So I said, okay, so that's what we're going to do today, is I'm going to ask you to take, and I go over the materials and give them what they need. I want you to go outside, and I want you to hang out on the outside of the pens, even though you know the horses. Everybody's going to be on the outside today. And I just want you to find a horse that you feel connected with, or that you want to be with. And set yourself up in a comfortable fashion, even though, it was hot out. It was starting to get later in the day, so it was starting to cool down a little bit. They took their folding chairs, they went out, and they sat. And it was really interesting to know that these are people who just rushed in, slid in sideways to be in the session. They're now sitting quietly and peacefully with their mandala materials in front of them, and then hanging out with the horses. even though it was an abbreviated, because again, I was trying to condense this, it was an abbreviated 20, 25 minute time outside with the horses while they were working on their mandala. And I said, set an intention. What is it you want in your life? Is there a goal that you're working on? Is there something that, is important to you? Just with pictures, words, symbols in your mandala, make that. And so I just went out and watched, and I just really appreciated the stillness that was brought, that was there in the environment. The horses, of course, were great. It was really interesting to watch, and I asked them to watch the behavior of the horse. Don't try to interpret it, but just notice. Notice what is going on when you're in your work and when you're in with yourself. So anyway, so we came back in, and I asked an open-ended question. So what was your experience out there? And I always make sure this is not an art class, so don't worry about your artwork. We're not judging that. And several of them, well, I remember one girl in particular said, I've had so many things going on in my life. I have a boyfriend that's kind of nutty, and I've got this tremendous big work schedule. And she said, what I did with the mandala was I just put all that stuff in the mandala. And when I was doing that, the horse just kind of showed up and just hung with me. And this was a girl that was moved to tears in her sharing. Another one was really cute. It was a guy, one of the guys. He said, when I said, why are you here today? He's, I'm bringing cowboy energy. I was like, great. We all need good looking cowboy energy. And he was like, I didn't really know what to do, but he said he had so many facets in his life, and he was trying to figure out what he was doing. And he made this beautiful representation of like almost boxes upon box with corners that were highlighted. And he talked about how the corners were the direction points for him. And the two horses that hung with him were always, when I was observing, during his 20 minutes out there, those horses were facing him in this sort of almost like a corner way the entire time. So that's just two examples of, I think, and I am always blown away with what shows up when I do this work. And my role, I feel, is to just open a space for people to show up, and I'll give them some time to listen to their own voice, and to maybe for the first time in a day, a week, or maybe even months, to go, oh, that's what I want. That's what I need.